Now we're going to go into how each of the particular connectives function and how to understand and recognize the different connectives. So again, this is what you're going to memorize this week. This is the 2D grid, which explains what the combinations of various parts mean in logic. So we have over here the variables P and Q and the possible combinations of P and Q. Either they're both true, or one is true while the other is false, or they're both false. So here we have, when we use negation, we turn something P from true to false. And if it's false, then we turn it to true. For our and, this follows the same reasoning that the bool diagram did. So here we have what would be 1, 0, 0, 0. So an and is true when both parts are true, when P and Q are both true. Otherwise, it's false. So if P is true while Q is false, it's false. If P is false while Q is true, it's false. If they're both false, the and is definitely false. The OR works like the OR did for the Boolean exercise. We have 1, 1, 1, 0. So this is what we call an inclusive OR. So it's true if both parts are true. It's true if either part is true. It's only false if both parts are false. Our P then Q is only false if the antecedent, the first part P, is true, while the consequent, the second part, is false. Otherwise, it's okay, it's true. For if and only if these are false when they aren't the equivalent to each other, and true when they are. So when they're both true, it's true, and when they're both false, it's true, otherwise false. Now we're going to go through each one of these and just make sure that you understand how each one of these operates. So negation is a connective that operates as a one-place function in front of a well-formed formula. So whatever that well-formed formula is, it changes the true to false and false to true. Words that mean negation include not, it is not the case, it is false that, and neither nor. Avoid translating prefixes as negations. So linguistically, stylistically, people say don't use double negations, but in this case, you're going to want to be able to recognize a double negation and put two negations, two tildes before it. A double denial is not an affirmation, though it may imply it logically. So here's an example of this. Homer says, I didn't not eat the donut. So we'll do two negations and then a capital D for I ate the donut. It's false that both Keith and Nicole attend the party. Negation, parentheses, K and N, in parentheses. Neither Karen nor Devin admitted wrong. In this case, it's negation, parentheses, C or D, end parentheses. So neither nor is not either or, and it is false that is not both in this case. So here's an active learning exercise, which I'm not going to read out loud because it's better if you do it visually on your own, and it will make utter nonsense if I do it spoken. So in this case, you're going to match to the correct translation. If you are in my class and you can't read this yourself, don't worry, this is one of your practice exercises and you can read it aloud on Canvas. I want you to reflect for a minute. How do you conceptualize negation? I mean, what does it look like if you picture things in your mind, or sound like if you hear thoughts? Or, well, what is happening when you are negating? True or false? Unlucky means exactly the same thing as not lucky. Next, we'll do conjunctions. A conjunction is true when both conjuncts are true, otherwise false. Examples of conjunction: Ischia and Capri are islands, but Sorrento is not. But we just translate as an and. We don't worry about the additional flavor of the conjunction. So we go parentheses I and C, end parentheses, and negation S. We know that the and should be placed where the but is because of the placement of the comma. Next is Capri is an island, and Sorrento or Ischia is two. So in this case, we got C and begin parentheses, S or I in parentheses. And again, it's a placement both of the comma. And for this one, you've got Sorrento or Ischia, together in the subject of the sentence. Okay. I want you to match the conjunction to the phrase that best describes how they function stylistically. They're all going to be translated as conjunctions as and. So both and the ampersand and the semicolon. But although, yet, in spite of the fact that, whenever, when, after, since, before, until, and while. Finally, furthermore, additionally, moreover, and whereas. So for these, match these two being temporal, meaning being about time, being just neutral, listing or elaborating, or suggesting an oppositional attitude. Next is disjunction. A disjunction is true unless both disjuncts are false. So true, 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 false. This is an inclusive disjunction, meaning again on the top line where P and Q are both true, it's true. Indicator words, there aren't many in English that mean or. You have unless and you have either or. So example, either the Bear or Bob's Burgers or Choky Chicken has the best fictional sandwiches. So parentheses B or F, parentheses, in parentheses, or C. Unless I sail, it won't happen. So S, V, meaning wedge. This is the symbol for or. Negation, H. A conditional is true unless the antecedent is true, while the consequent is false. The antecedent is the first part. It's the P. It's the part that goes right after the if. And the consequent is what follows the then. So if P is true, true, then true is true. True, then false is false. False, then true is true. And false, then false is true. The last two may bother you, so just memorize them. Antecedent indicators include given that, if, in case that, supposing that, in the event that, is a necessary condition, on condition that, provided that. Consequent indicators are words that mean then, like implies that, is a sufficient condition, and only if means then, and then means then. An example of a negated antecedent indicator is unless. So if you see unless and you want to interpret it not as an or, but as a negated antecedent or a negated if, so if not this is what it is indicating. Okay, here's some exercises for you to go through. Only if Michael goes will Stan go. The figure might be a square if it is a rectangle. Provided that you feed your plant, it will not kill you. The figure is a rectangle unless it is not, that it might be a square. Our final one is a biconditional. This is true if both parts have the same value. Otherwise, it's false, also called a material equivalence. So here we have true if and only if true is true. True if and only if false is false. False if and only if true is false. And false if and only if false is true. Indicators are IFF, if and only if, is equivalent to, and is necessary and sufficient for. Those all indicate biconditionals. So using the following translations, write out an informal language. So you're going to write a sentence in English for these written in propositional logic. A here is going to stand for Alexa draws. B is going to stand for Barry writes. C is going to stand for they can write a graphic novel together. D equals Dylan writes. So number one, so write this out in informal language, parentheses A and B, in parentheses, arrow C. Number two, tilde, begin parentheses, B, wedge D, in parentheses. Number three, A, arrow, parentheses, B, arrow, negate, tilde D, in parentheses. And finally, number four, tilde D, arrow, tilde C. So write those out, practice your translation. You got to go both ways. You got to go from formal to informal and informal to formal. Okay, and this is the other way. And these are going to be a little bit longer because these are in informal language. So first one is Amsterdam is not full of tourists. So translate the following statements into symbolic form. Italy and the United Kingdom have new prime ministers. If grain is exported from Ukraine, then shipping channels must be open. Grain is exported from Ukraine only if shipping channels are open. Shipping channels must be open if grain is exported from Ukraine. Weimar is the center of architecture if and only if Bauhaus is the most important architectural style. Finally, either Moldova closes its borders and stops all flights, or more Russian men will immigrate. Okay, so this is your objectives for the week. For this particular lecture for this week, and practice your exercises.